Hello and welcome to the No Snook. This is the third attempt at filming my next video that I've made. For some reason, I keep just having really messy videos that I don't want to edit and I don't want to post. So we're trying again. For this video, I am combining two things. So I am combining my most recent library haul with my TBR for the 2020 Asian Readathon, which is happening in May. So this is probably the only time you're ever going to get a TBR out of me, but I do have a set TBR for this challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the books that I'm reading for the Asian Readathon first, and then we're going to go into the rest of the library haul. Also, you may see that I am sitting in a wheelchair. Nothing happened to me, don't worry. I've been chronically ill for a long time, had a lot of issues with my legs, and I just finally got my hands on a wheelchair last week. This is a good thing, not a bad thing, don't worry. So we're going to start out with the Readathon. Now the 2020 Asian Readathon is hosted by Readathon, and I will link her video down in the description, as well as the actual reading challenge page on Storygraph if you're interested. It runs for the entire month of May, so even if you're just hearing about it from my video, if you're interested in doing this, you're welcome to. There's 5 different prompts, which I'm going to go through in a minute. This year's challenge is loosely themed around everything, everywhere, all at once, and you're welcome to combine prompts to apply to a single book. I've done that with 2 of them. The only other rule, basically, is that each book you read should feature a character or be written by an author of a different Asian ethnicity. So you shouldn't be reading, all books by Japanese authors or all books by Chinese authors. We're going to jump into it. We're going to get into it with the first prompt for the Readathon is read a book written by an Asian author. And that is going to be A Time to Dance by Padma Venkatraman, I think. I'm not super certain on that, but it's my best try. This is about it features a disabled main character, which I'm really jazzed about, and it's written in verse, which I'm also very interested about. I haven't read, I'm trying to think, there's a book about the Dust Bowl that I read that was in verse, and I think that's one of the few, narratives in verse that I've read, and so I'm really excited to give this a go, give this a read, see what it reads like. That's for the first prompt, which is read a book by an Asian author. And then next we have read a book featuring an Asian character who is a woman and or older. I don't have this book physically. My library didn't have it. I actually ended up having to buy it as an ebook, but for this prompt I'm reading It's Not About the Burqa, which is a collection of essays by Muslim women about faith, sexuality, religion, race. I thought the concept was very interesting, and I'm always trying to broaden my horizons when it comes to different religions and different cultures. I was raised very sheltered, so I welcome any chance to learn about other cultures and religions from the people who practice them and live in them. And then next, I'm actually combining the next 2 prompts for one book. So read a book by an Asian author that has a universe you would want to experience or a universe that is totally different from yours. And read a book by an Asian author that has a cover worthy of googly eyes. And for that, I'll be reading this little novella, After the Dragons. This is set in, I believe, modern day Beijing. And I love the tagline for this, which reads, "Dragons were a terror to the Western world, but in the East they brought life-giving rain. But now they're kind of faded into obscurity. They're not as celebrated and revered. And our main character is a college student who is searching the streets of Beijing for abandoned dragons. And I was actually very excited when I saw how tiny it was, because this will be a really easy read for me. And the cover is just... And of course, I'm a huge fan of dragon books. I'm always a sucker for dragon books. And I am fascinated by any book that combines mythical, magical things like dragons with modern day, our world. And then for the last prompt, read a book by an Asian author that has a high rating or was highly recommended by someone. I will be reading, Cynthia Zhang is the author of this book. Nope, my books just fell on the floor, whatever. Next, for the last prompt, which was read a book by an Asian author that has a high rating or was highly recommended by someone, I'll be reading The Wild Ones by Nafisa Azad. This is about a group of magical girls who have to band together to save the life of the boy who saved their lives. And they're all hurt, broken, traumatized in some way. And it feels like it has really strong found family vibes. This actually I'm reading on the recommendation of Books with Layla. I'll try to find the exact video. If I can't, I'll at least link her channel down below. I also just absolutely am in love with the cover. Let me cover the part of this back cover that shows my location. Just look at this. It's so gorgeous. I'm really excited to read this book. I'm really into it. And then also, I did check this one out for the readathon, but I ended up, because it's so thick, I want to make sure I actually read all of the books that I intend to for the readathon, and I know that I can tend to get very distracted by other books. I have a lot of other books that I want to read this month. So this one is not going to count for the readathon, but I checked it out anyway. It's The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I have heard a lot of good things about this book. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe Thoughts on Tomes is where I have heard about this book quite a bit. And I've been wanting to read it for a while and I just never have. So I figured now's my chance to get it in my house, even if I don't read it this month. It's about our main character's a girl who has been exiled by her brother, who I believe has become the regent. And she's in this temple and I guess possibly trying to get back to her throne. I'm not completely sure, to be honest, of the plot of this book. But look at this cover. And look at how chunky it is. I love a chunky book. I especially love a nice chunky paperback book. They're always so good to handle. So now we're getting into the non-readathon books. We're getting into just my normal, I picked these up on a whim kind of books. First we have the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. Who is it? I think Carrie can read, and Books with Layla, maybe, or somebody else. At least two booktubers whose videos I watched last month. It might have been with Cindy, actually. Our Book of the Month affiliates, and this is a Book of the Month book last month, and it sounded so interesting. I'm actually reading right now Tell Me Everything, which is the private investigator, the memoir of a PI, that was also a Book of the Month book last month. This one sounded interesting. That one sounded super interesting. So I'm excited to get into this. I also just really love the cover. The cover just, something about it says to me, this is an interesting book. It might be the lighting details about it. I don't know. You probably want to know what this is actually about. Give me a second. So this is about a true crime blogger who goes to interview someone who was acquitted of 2 cold case killings. And I'm guessing it takes a dark, uncomfortable, and scary turn. I read one thriller this month, and I'm not usually a thriller person, but I think I might be turning into a thriller person because I actually pretty much enjoyed the thriller that I read this month. You'll hear about it in my wrap-up video. And this one seems really interesting. And Books with Layla, whose videos I've been watching a lot, is really into thrillers and keeps talking about books that just sound so interesting. So I don't know, I may turn into a thriller reader yet. Third to last, we have The Discord of Gods by Jen Lyons. This is the 5th and last book in the Chorus of Dragons series, which I devoured last year, and I thought the 4th book was the last book. And like, I'm never again going to experience, I may one day experience, but I had not yet experienced getting to the end of a book and just being so shocked that nothing had resolved, because I really thought the 4th book was the last book. I love this series. I love the way the narration is handled and the like interjections and the footnotes, and it very much is a series of unreliable narrators, and it's just fascinating, the prefaces and the afterwards that bookend these books and the footnotes throughout them. And yeah, I'm obsessed with the way that this series tells stories, as well as, I believe, I'm not sure about the 3rd one anymore, but I'm pretty sure every single book in this series tells 2 stories at once, often, usually one in the present and one in the past. And I'm really obsessed with the way that changes the narrative pacing. It's just so interesting to me, the way that having one story in the past and one story in the present, the present may take place over a matter of a week, but because you're covering months, if not years, in the past part of the story, the flashbacks, I don't know, it makes the book feel less rushed, I guess. Not that I think the plots would feel rushed, the present plots would feel rushed on their own, but it also just fills in so much of the narrative. I don't know, I feel I have so many thoughts, and you'll probably hear more of them in my May wrap-up when I finish this book, because I love this series and I love the narrative style so much. And then actually last, we have the 3rd and 4th books of the Abortion series by Garth Nix, Clariel, and Golden Hand. I read Sabriel last month. I'm currently reading Lyriel, and I didn't like the Abortion at my library was small and chunky and thick, and I didn't think it would be fun to read, so I'm gonna read it on ebook. But I did get these 2 in hard copy because I like the way they feel, I like the way they look. They're nice and tall and thin, so they're not a pain to read. I really liked Sabriel. I'm enjoying Lyriel. I'm excited. I really like Garth Nix's writing in general. In my March wrap-up, I talked about The Left-Handed Booksellers of London. Loved that book. So Sabriel was pretty good, and Lyriel I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying the magic. I'm really enjoying the characters and the lore. So I'm looking forward to reading the whole series. And that is the end of my joint haul and readathon TBR. I should have a wrap-up video out soon for the month of April, so you'll get to see all, I think I read 7 books that I read. It was a rough month. It was a slow month. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in the readathon, I will link the video and the Storygraph challenge down below. I will also link the 3 different channels that I talked about. If possible, I will link the videos that recommended the books I'm talking about, but I may not be able to find them. So I will at least link the channels so you can check them out for yourself. And if you would like to follow me on Storygraph and see, watch my progress through this readathon, see my thoughts as I finish books, all of that good stuff, you can follow me down. I'll link my profile down below if you would like to follow me. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have thoughts about any of the books I've mentioned, if you just want to give me a nice compliment, whatever, comment down below, like this video, subscribe if you want. If you want to know exactly when I release a video, you can hit the little notification bell, and that's it. I'll see you all next time.